Hey, welcome back. Every time you load up a web page, what you're seeing is really just the final performance. But behind the curtain, there's this whole hidden world of notes, instructions, and even elements that are totally invisible. So today, we're going to pull that curtain back and explore the secret life of a web page. Let's dive in.
So what are these invisible parts I'm talking about? And no, I don't mean images that are just taking forever to load. I'm talking about pieces of the website that are intentionally hidden. Sometimes they're secret messages for other developers, other times it's content that you, the user, aren't supposed to see. This is actually a really fundamental part of how the web is built.
Let's start with the first kind of invisible stuff, what I like to call the code's secret whispers. Just imagine these are like little sticky notes that developers pass to each other, tucked right inside the code itself. They're absolutely essential for working on a team or, just remembering why you wrote something a certain way 6 months later. But for the public, completely hidden.
Now, in the world of web development, these whispers, they have an official name, HTML comments. Think of them as the silent architects of a web page. They provide all this crucial guidance and context, but they never, ever show up on the final page. So how do they actually work?
Well, it's actually surprisingly simple. A developer can wrap any bit of text inside these special tags you see here, and web browsers are literally programmed to see those tags and just completely ignore everything between them.
Let's see this in action because this makes it super clear. The HTML code on the left has a comment right there before a normal paragraph, but then look at what the browser shows on the right. The comment has just vanished. Poof! Like it was never there. Only that visible paragraph actually makes it onto the screen.
So you might be asking, why bother writing stuff that's just going to be ignored? Well, comments are developers' best friend. They're used to leave notes for teammates, to explain a really tricky piece of logic, or, and this is a really common one, to temporarily turn off a feature by just wrapping it in comment tags. It's so much better than deleting the code. It's all about making collaboration easier and just keeping things tidy.
Okay, so comments are notes for developers, invisible to everyone else. Got it. But what if you want to make a part of your actual web page invisible to the user? I'm not talking about a note, but a real button or a whole section of text. Well, that requires a completely different kind of magic.
And that brings us to our next big question. How do you basically create an invisibility cloak for your content? We're not leaving notes anymore. This is all about intentionally controlling what your audience can and can't see on the page at any given moment.
So it turns out developers have this toolkit with 3 main ways to make stuff invisible. Each one works a little differently, and picking the right one totally depends on what you're trying to do. So let's break them down, one by one.
First up is the most common, and probably the most powerful method. I call it the vanishing act. The technical term for it is a little piece of CSS code, display none. And this doesn't just make something invisible, it makes it disappear completely. And really, this little bit of CSS is all it takes. You make a class, maybe call it hidden, that's a popular choice, and you tell it display none. From that point on, any HTML element you give that class to will just vanish.
Now, let's really look at the effect this has on a page. Before, we've got our 3 blocks, right? But when we apply display none to that middle one, look what happens. It's not just that the block is gone, the space it took up is gone too. The whole layout shifts over to fill that empty void, as if the element never even existed in the first place.
Okay, our second method is pretty different. Think of it less like a vanishing act and more like a ghost. The element is still there, you just can't see it. The code for this one is visibility hidden, and the name itself gives you a pretty big clue about how it's different.
So the CSS looks almost the same, right? We're just swapping out the display property for the visibility property. It's a really subtle change in the code, but it has a totally different impact on the page itself.
And here it is, the crucial difference. When we apply visibility hidden to that middle block, it becomes transparent, but its space is preserved. See that? It's a ghost. It's unseen, but it's still taking up room, so the other elements don't move an inch. This is absolutely key for when you want to hide something without messing up your whole layout. Our last method is the most direct of them all. Instead of using CSS, we can use a special switch that's built right into HTML itself. It's called the hidden attribute, and it pretty much acts like a simple on-off button for any element.
You just add the word hidden right inside the HTML tag. That's it. Seriously, no separate CSS file, nothing. And by default, web browsers treat this attribute just like display none, which means the element and its space completely disappear. All right, so with 3 different invisibility cloaks to choose from, how in the world do you know which one to use? Let's put this all together in a quick little cheat sheet to make the choice totally crystal clear. So here's the deal. If you want an element and its space to completely vanish, and you want the layout to rearrange itself, display none is your tool. No question. If you need to hide an element but keep the layout perfectly stable by saving its spot, you want visibility hidden. And if you just need a simple on-off switch, especially when you plan to control with JavaScript, then that HTML hidden attribute is your best bet.
And there you have it. You now get the huge difference between the secret whispers for developers, those HTML comments, and this powerful toolkit of invisibility cloaks we use to control what a user actually sees. And this isn't just some tiny technical detail. It's a superpower for designing really cool, dynamic, and interactive websites. Ultimately, every single hidden thing on a web page is there because of a choice. A choice to leave a helpful note for a fellow coder, or a choice to shape what a user experiences. So, now that you know how to control what's seen and what's unseen, what will you create? Thanks for joining me.